What you choose to eat after a 16-hour fast can push your body in one of two very different directions. It can support muscle recovery and continued fat burning, or it can shift your body back towards storing energy as fat. Most people focus on the fasting window itself, but that's only part of the story. The real impact comes from how you break the fast. Here's what many people never hear about intermittent fasting. The fasting period prepares your body for change, but the first food you eat determines how that preparation is used. Muscle repair, fat metabolism, cellular recovery, and improved insulin sensitivity all depend heavily on that first meal. In many ways, the first minute after your fast ends is more important than the previous 16 hours. During those fasting hours, your body gradually shifts into a completely different metabolic mode. After roughly 10 to 12 hours without food, the glycogen stored in your liver begins running low. Glycogen is your body's quick-access energy reserve. Once it becomes depleted, your body starts looking elsewhere for fuel. At the same time, insulin levels fall dramatically. In fact, they can drop to some of the lowest levels you'll experience throughout the day. When insulin remains low, your body gains easier access to stored fat. An enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase becomes more active, allowing fatty acids to leave fat cells and enter the bloodstream where they can be used for energy. As the fast continues, another important process increases: autophagy. Think of autophagy as your body's internal cleanup system. Cells begin breaking down and recycling damaged proteins, worn-out cellular structures, and other unnecessary material. This maintenance process is one reason fasting has attracted so much attention in health and longevity research. Growth hormone levels also rise significantly during fasting. This hormone plays an important role in preserving lean muscle while encouraging the body to use stored fat for fuel. By the time you've reached the 16-hour mark, your body is operating in a highly efficient state. Fat burning is elevated, cellular maintenance is active, inflammation may be reduced, and insulin sensitivity is exceptionally high. This is where many people accidentally undo a large portion of those benefits. When you finish a long fast, your cells become extremely responsive to nutrients. Both muscle cells and fat cells are ready to absorb energy. This heightened responsiveness is known as insulin sensitivity, and it reaches some of its highest levels after an extended fasting period. The challenge is that foods that rapidly convert into glucose can trigger a very strong insulin response at this moment. Something as simple as toast, fruit juice, cereal, or a banana may create a much larger reaction than it would later in the day. When insulin rises sharply, fat burning slows down. The body shifts its priorities from releasing stored energy to storing incoming energy. This biological mechanism helped humans survive periods of feast and famine. But in today's environment, it can work against many people's goals. That's why intermittent fasting sometimes fails to deliver the results people expect. They successfully complete a long fasting window, allowing their body to access stored fat and activate beneficial repair processes, but then immediately break the fast with foods that create a rapid surge in blood sugar and insulin. The fasting period itself wasn't the problem. The issue was the timing and composition of the first meal. The same food can produce very different effects depending on when it's eaten. A bowl of oats might fit perfectly into a balanced lunch, yet create a completely different metabolic response immediately after a prolonged fast. This is where the first bite principle becomes important. If you want to preserve the benefits you've built during fasting, your first meal should be centered around protein and healthy fats while keeping fast-digesting carbohydrates to a minimum. Protein creates a much more controlled insulin response than carbohydrates. It provides amino acids that your muscles can immediately use for repair and maintenance, without causing the dramatic hormonal shift that often follows a high-sugar meal. Healthy fats contribute as well. Foods such as eggs, avocado, olive oil, nuts, and fatty fish have little impact on blood sugar and help maintain metabolic stability. Together, protein and fat give your body the nutrients it needs while allowing many of the fasting-related benefits to continue. Another important factor involves a hormone called glucagon. While insulin helps store nutrients, glucagon encourages your body to release stored energy. Protein-rich meals tend to support a healthier balance between these two hormones, helping maintain stable energy levels rather than causing the sharp rise and fall many people experience after carbohydrate-heavy breakfasts. You've probably noticed this effect without realizing it. On days when you break your fast with eggs, salmon, or Greek yogurt, your energy often remains steady for hours. On days when you choose cereal, juice, or pastries, hunger tends to return much sooner. That brings us to hunger hormones. Ghrelin, often called the hunger hormone, rises before meals and falls after eating. Research consistently shows that protein-rich meals suppress ghrelin more effectively than meals high in refined carbohydrates. As a result, people who prioritize protein often stay satisfied for much longer. This means fewer cravings, less snacking, and a much easier time maintaining a healthy eating pattern throughout the day. When a fast is broken with sugary foods or rapidly digested carbohydrates, ghrelin can rebound much faster, causing hunger to return within a short period. Many people interpret this as a lack of willpower when it's actually a predictable hormonal response. Now let's look at some common foods people mistakenly believe are ideal for breaking a fast. Fruit juice sits near the top of the list. Even though it's often marketed as healthy, fruit juice delivers a concentrated dose of sugar without the fiber found in whole fruit. After a prolonged fast, that sugar reaches the bloodstream quickly and can create exactly the type of insulin spike you're trying to avoid. Oats and granola are another example. While they can certainly be part of a healthy diet, they may not be the best choice immediately after a 16-hour fast. Their carbohydrate content can trigger a stronger glucose response than many people realize during this highly sensitive metabolic window. Protein bars and meal replacement shakes deserve special attention. Many contain substantial amounts of added sugars, syrups, or maltodextrin. Although they advertise high protein content, they often deliver a large carbohydrate load at the same time. Sweetened yogurt with fruit toppings can create a similar issue. Plain full-fat yogurt provides protein and beneficial nutrients, but added sweeteners and fruit mixtures can significantly increase the glycemic impact. Sports drinks and flavored electrolyte beverages are another hidden source of sugar. Many people consume them believing they're only replacing minerals, when in reality they may also be consuming ingredients that trigger a strong insulin response. Bone broth is often recommended as a fasting-friendly option, and in its pure form, it can be an excellent choice. It provides amino acids while remaining very low in carbohydrates. However, commercially prepared versions sometimes contain added starches, sweeteners, or other ingredients that alter their effects, making label reading essential. So what does an ideal first meal actually look like? Start with a high-quality protein source providing roughly 30 to 40 grams of protein. This amount appears to support optimal muscle protein synthesis, the process responsible for repairing and building muscle tissue. Excellent options include whole eggs, salmon, sardines, grass-fed beef, cottage cheese, plain full-fat Greek yogurt, or plant-based choices such as tempeh. These foods are rich in essential amino acids, including leucine, which acts as one of the primary signals that initiates muscle repair and growth. Consuming enough leucine after a fast helps direct nutrients toward recovery rather than storage. The second component is healthy fat, typically around 15 to 25 grams. Fat helps slow digestion and promotes satiety by stimulating hormones that signal fullness to the brain. This slower digestive process supports steadier blood sugar levels and more consistent energy throughout the day. A half avocado is an excellent example. It provides healthy monounsaturated fats, supports satiety, and pairs well with virtually any high-protein meal. A small amount of healthy fat is the next piece of the puzzle. This can come from a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil used during cooking, a handful of walnuts or macadamia nuts, or simply the natural fats already present in foods like eggs and oily fish. The third element is optional but highly recommended: non-starchy vegetables. These foods add fiber, important vitamins and minerals, and satisfying volume without creating a significant insulin response. Vegetables such as spinach, arugula, cucumber, zucchini, broccoli, and asparagus are all excellent choices. Lightly sautéed or roasted with olive oil and a pinch of sea salt, they help turn the meal into something filling and enjoyable rather than restrictive. What should stay off the plate during this first meal? Foods like bread, rice, pasta, fruit, potatoes, corn, and anything loaded with added sugars. Those foods can have a place later in the day if you choose to eat them. By your second meal, your body has largely settled back into its normal metabolic rhythm, making carbohydrate intake less disruptive. A serving of rice at dinner is very different from making it the first thing you eat after 16 hours without food. To make this practical, here's a simple meal that checks every box. It takes less than 10 minutes to prepare, is affordable, and aligns perfectly with the physiology of breaking a fast. Think of it as a muscle-focused breakfast bowl. You'll need 3 whole eggs, about 2 ounces of smoked salmon or a small tin of wild sardines, half an avocado, 1 cup of fresh spinach, a quarter of a cucumber sliced thin, 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, sea salt, black pepper, and an optional squeeze of fresh lemon juice. Begin by warming the olive oil in a pan over low to medium heat. Cook the eggs gently rather than rushing the process. Lower temperatures help preserve delicate nutrients found in the yolk, including vitamins A and D. Soft scrambled eggs prepared slowly tend to retain more nutritional value compared to eggs exposed to intense heat. While the eggs cook, arrange the spinach and cucumber on a plate. Add the avocado and place the salmon or sardines alongside the vegetables. Once the eggs are softly set and still slightly glossy, remove them from the heat. The remaining warmth will finish cooking them naturally. Season with sea salt and freshly ground black pepper. If you're using sardines packed in olive oil, don't throw away the oil. Drizzle a little over the meal. It carries flavor from the fish and provides additional beneficial fats. The finished meal delivers roughly 35 to 40 grams of protein, a generous amount of healthy fats, plenty of micronutrients, and very few digestible carbohydrates. It supplies key nutrients such as vitamin D, vitamin B12, omega-3 fatty acids, choline, potassium, folate, and numerous fat-soluble vitamins that require dietary fat for proper absorption. Most importantly, this meal supports the metabolic state your body has spent 16 hours creating rather than immediately reversing it. But there is another factor that almost everyone overlooks, and it has nothing to do with food choices. It's the speed at which you eat. The rate at which you consume your first meal can significantly influence how your body responds. It sounds simple, but the science behind it is surprisingly compelling. When people finish a meal too quickly, especially after fasting, they often eat more than necessary before their body's fullness signals have time to activate. Hormones involved in satiety, including GLP-1 and peptide YY, typically require 15 to 20 minutes to fully communicate with the brain. If you inhale your meal in 5 minutes, your body hasn't had enough time to register what's happening. This issue becomes even more noticeable after fasting because hunger is naturally elevated. Many people notice that food tastes remarkably better after a prolonged fast. Flavors seem stronger, aromas feel richer, and the urge to eat can become intense. That combination of real hunger and heightened enjoyment creates the perfect setup for eating too fast. The solution is surprisingly straightforward. Take at least 15 minutes to finish your first meal. Put your fork down occasionally. Slow the pace. Chew thoroughly. This isn't outdated advice. Proper chewing improves the mechanical breakdown of food, begins digestion earlier, and gives your body's signaling systems time to respond appropriately. It may even enhance nutrient absorption by improving the digestive process from the very first bite. A deliberate 15-minute meal may be one of the easiest ways to improve the effectiveness of your fasting routine. There's also an important mental aspect to understand. After a long fasting period, the urge to eat immediately can feel overwhelming. That's completely normal. Hunger hormones are elevated, and your brain's reward systems become highly responsive to food cues. Recognizing this response helps you manage it. Remind yourself that the food isn't going anywhere. Slowing down for a few extra minutes won't reduce the nutritional value of the meal, but it can improve the way your body processes it. Now let's address a few common questions. What about coffee? What about electrolytes? Do they break a fast before your first meal? Black coffee generally does not meaningfully interrupt a fasting state. It contains virtually no calories and has little effect on insulin. Some research even suggests caffeine may support some of the same cellular processes associated with fasting. However, once calories are added, the situation changes. Cream, milk, half and half, butter, coconut oil, and similar additions technically begin the feeding process because they provide energy that the body must digest and process. Water is perfectly fine. Sparkling water is fine as well. Electrolyte supplements containing sodium, potassium, and magnesium without added sugars are generally useful during fasting, especially because the body tends to lose water and minerals more rapidly when insulin levels remain low. Unsweetened herbal teas are also acceptable. Green tea deserves special mention because it contains compounds that may support fat metabolism and complement a fasting routine. A simple guideline works well. If it contains meaningful calories and requires digestion, your eating window has begun. If it doesn't, you're generally still fasting. One thing most people don't realize is that the benefits of this approach become more noticeable with consistency. The first few days often feel different from the first few weeks. If you've spent years relying heavily on carbohydrates, switching to a protein and fat-focused first meal may feel unusual at first. Some people notice a brief period where energy feels flatter than expected. Not a sugar crash, but more of a temporary adjustment phase. That's completely normal. Your body is learning to become more flexible with its fuel sources. Around day 3 or 4, many people begin noticing a different experience altogether. Energy levels become steadier. Mental clarity improves. The dramatic highs and lows that often follow carbohydrate-heavy meals begin to fade. Instead of feeling energized for an hour and exhausted the next, energy remains consistent for much longer. This reflects a growing ability to use fat efficiently as fuel. The energy-producing structures inside your cells begin adapting to this new demand, improving your body's capacity to generate steady energy throughout the day. By the second week, another interesting change often appears. Your appetite starts to reorganize itself. Foods that once triggered intense cravings lose some of their pull. Hunger becomes more predictable and manageable. Instead of constantly thinking about the next snack, many people notice they feel satisfied for longer periods and naturally make better food choices without forcing themselves to do so. As you continue following this approach, something interesting begins to happen. Hunger stops feeling like an emergency. Instead of arriving suddenly and demanding immediate attention, it becomes more consistent and predictable. Many people notice they can comfortably extend their fasting periods without feeling miserable. Those intense waves of hunger that once seemed impossible to ignore gradually lose their power. A big reason for this is that your blood sugar becomes more stable. When you're no longer creating dramatic spikes and crashes with every meal, your body's hunger signals become far less chaotic. This is one of the most valuable benefits of the first bite strategy, yet it's rarely discussed.